Hello, everyone. I am super excited for the information that we're going to get to share today in today's session. So let's go ahead and dive right in because I've got a lot of goodies today. So today we are going to be talking about mastering productivity. So really how we as music teachers can make the most of all the different things that we need to get done and do it in a way that not only ensures that they get done in a timely manner, but also kind of helps protect our own peace as people, because we get a little bit more control and we can reclaim some of that time because we're being more efficient. So if you don't know me, hello, my name is Bryson Tarbet. I am a former pre-K through sixth grade general music teacher here in Columbus, Ohio. And now I am a full-time independent instructional coach, and I also run my company, That Music Teacher LLC. A little bit more about me. I also have ADHD and sensory processing disorder. Why do I share this? Because this is why a lot of the information that I'm going to share with you, it's kind of how I've come to come to these ideas, right? A lot of these ideas were things that came out of necessity because my ADHD brain was not really helpful in the classroom to make, getting things done and making sure that nothing got forgotten or no balls got dropped and things like that. So today we are going to be talking about what systems matter for music teachers. What is project management? Because it's my favorite thing. It's what's gotten me so much results in both my company, but as well as when I was in the classroom. How we can manage it all, because I know we are juggling all types of different things as teachers. And then we're going to talk about, basically take you a walkthrough of how you can set it up so you can apply it in your classroom in a practical way. Before we get any further, let's talk about some of the responsibilities that we as music teachers have, right? It starts off pretty simple. We may need to make sure that we have a lesson for each grade. And then on top of that, we have to make sure, if we're doing centers or manipulatives, we have to make sure those are ready. And then we need to start communicating and setting up instruments. And as you notice, things just start getting a little bit more complicated. And eventually we're just looking around and we notice that there are so many things that we are juggling that one main task of lesson planning and delivering those lessons turns into thousands of tasks. I don't know about you, but this screen is stressing me out. But the reality is, these are the types of things that we are really juggling as music teachers, right? We are constantly dealing with all of these different things and keeping all the balls in the air and trying to do it all. But the reality is we can't do that all, especially if we don't have systems that are set up to set ourselves up for success. So let's talk a little bit about what that might look like and really what I suggest. And the answer is pretty simple. That is project management. So if you haven't heard of project management, it is essentially the management of projects, right? Getting stuff done. Project management software, there are so many of them that are online. Some of them are free, some of them are freemium, some of them are paid, some of them are incredibly expensive. But there's so many different things out there that you can find one that's really going to fit you and the style of, the way your brain works, the way your schedule works, all these different things. Project management software essentially allows us to have a bird's eye view of all the different tasks that we have in the pipeline, right? All the different things that we need to get done, we put in one place so that we can see what needs to happen first, second, third, and so on. So what are some of the benefits of using project management software? Especially for me, this reduced my mental load. So I didn't have to think about all the different things that I needed. I don't need to keep them front of mind. I knew that if I logged into my project management software, everything would be there. It also helped me improve my time management. So I didn't have to spend time figuring out what to do. I just sat down during my planning periods and did the thing. And of course, especially if you have an ADHD brain like mine, it's really helpful to make sure that, you minimize the things that you forget or overlook or things that kind of get lost in the shuffle. So using a project management software consistently is going to help make sure that we are minimizing that. the dropping of the balls, the losing of the tasks, the just not doing what we need to do. So like I said, there are a lot of different options. Some of the ones that I'm going to talk about today are Asana and Google Tasks. Those are ones that I've used personally, but there are many, many others like Trello, ClickUp, Airtable, Monday.com. Again, if you just Google project management, you're going to find, project management software, you're going to find so many different options. So again, my two main recommendations are Asana and Google Tasks. And one of the reasons why I recommend both of these is that they are essentially free. You'll notice there's a little asterisk next to it. So Asana, there are paid features, but honestly, even in my company, I don't even use that, and I have a team that works with me. And in the classroom, I never use the paid features. And Google Tasks, it's free if you have a Google account. So basically free, right? Especially if you have a Google email address and you use Google Docs as a district, that can be really, really helpful. So I want to walk you through a few of these different options, or a couple of these different options, and show you how you can actually put it into practice. So let's start by looking at Asana. So I'm going to go ahead and change my monitor out so that you can see Asana. So this is Asana. You'll notice I have lots of different projects over here because I use like I said, I use this for my company, but here we're going to use this as our little classroom Asana board. So why I like Asana is that there's lots of different views that you can use. This is the one that I use most of the time because I like the way that everything is kind of a card. So if I needed to move it, I could drag it over. But you can also do it as a list. You can, hide the lesson planning if you don't want to look at it, or if you can do that. You can look at it like a calendar and see which tasks are assigned on which day. There's a lot of different things. You can attach files to it if you wanted to. There are some paid features. For instance, there's like timeline I've never used, dashboard I've never used, the workflow. You'll never need that as a teacher, but there's a lot of different things in here that you can use. So if I wanted to create a task, let's say my principal said that I need to get a newsletter sent out. I can go in here and I can add task, and I could send 4th grade newsletter, right? I'm going to assign it to me because it's something I need to do. And I need to make sure that it goes out before the end of day on the 24th. So if I wanted to, I could put it on the 24th, but because of who I am as a person, I'm going to mark it on the 23rd to make sure that it goes out before that. So now if I go into my calendar and I scroll, if I sit down to lesson plan on the 23rd, I know, in my planning period, I need to get this newsletter and get it copied and sent out. So for instance, let's say I just did the thing. I just wrote the email newsletter and I sent it out. If I hit this little complete, it now disappears because I have done the thing. If you want to look at your completed task, you can change the filter up here. So you can unclick this, and now I will see things that are completed and things that are uncompleted. You'll notice that this one's kind of grayed out because it's already done. But for me, that's a little stressful, so I'm going to change it here so I only see the things that are still on my plate. Some of the common things that I've used this for are lesson plans. So for instance, I don't want to have to figure out what lesson plan I need to write when I sit down to lesson plan. I just want to sit down and do the thing. So if I were lesson planning today, I would sit down, I would open up Asana and realize, okay, I have to write a 3rd grade lesson plan. So let's see what we have. Go into my lesson planning, figure out what was our last lesson, what do we need to have next, and do all the thing. And then once I get this done, I'm going to mark it as complete. And what I love about the way that I have this task set up, it will actually automatically populate a new task for 3rd grade. So the way that I have it set up is I have it set up so every Tuesday I write a 1st grade lesson plan. And then I have it marked here so that it repeats. So I have it repeat weekly. You can have it repeat daily. You could have it repeat periodically. So you could do, all right, every time I do it, I need to do it 3 days after I complete it. You can do some custom things in here. So every Tuesday and Thursday, whatever works for your schedule, because I know that everyone's rotation schedule is so different. But the way that I had this set up is whenever I mark the task complete, it's automatically going to create a new task and assign it to me as it's been before. So that's what I love about using things like that, especially if I go to that calendar view and realize, oh, today I needed to do my third grade lesson plan. I've already done it. And if you notice, I still have to email Jack's mom back. So I can go in here and I can go into my email and mark it as complete once it's done. But maybe she sends another email back, right? Or maybe Susie's mom sends an email too. So, right. So what can we do to kind of connect what the tools that we're already using into this project management software already? And what I love about this is that Asana also has a Google Suite plugin. So if I go into my email, so obviously this isn't my actual email. These are pretend emails from pretend people. But there is an Asana little widget, right, on the side. So what I do is basically says to get started, open an email. So if I look at this email, it says, this is my principal McPrincipal, that's telling me that I need to request the buses for the upcoming field trip before February 2nd. And it looks like there was a little bit of an error. So I'm going to refresh that to see if we can fix that, because of course there is while I'm recording. So if I open this email and there's obviously something I need to do, which is request the bus, what I can do is when I open up this Asana widget, I can click create new task. So I could do task name, request buses, field trip, right? And I need to have it done by February 2nd. So again, based on who I am, I'm going to actually have it set for February 1st, just so I don't forget. That's actually January 1st of 2026. I don't know how I did that. So I can go in here, I can go February 2025. All right, so it needs to be done by the 2nd. So I actually really need to get it done by Friday the 31st. Cool, so I'm gonna mark that down. And then I'm going to say whatever. So symphony, and then here's the link, right? I can paste in a link. Let's pretend I pasted a link, right? So that's the link that I need to have my request. Cool. And what's cool about this is if my principal were to send another reply to this email, like say, oh, hey, we actually can push that back. It'll automatically put the reply into the task. Now, if you notice right now, it's not attached to a project. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit project. I'm going to type in music room meetup because that is what I have this project called in my Asana board. So now, once it goes through, so now once I create task, what I can do is I can actually get this email out of my inbox. I hate having things in my inbox. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to archive it. Well, I'm going to put it in done at least. So now this one is going to be out of my inbox, right? So if I go back into Asana and go back into my board, I will now have a request buses. So I'm going to move this over to our miscellaneous, and now it's going to be on my calendar. So when I sit down on the 31st, I know that I need to make sure that I am not going to forget this. So that's why I really like doing this. So again, let's just say, all right, this parent is upset. Grumpy McGrumperton is upset because their precious child didn't get a solo, right? That would never happen, right? We would never see that happening. So what I can do is I can go ahead and say reply to McGrumperton. And I don't have the bandwidth for today because today I have a concert, but I'll get to it by the end of the week. So I'm going to put it on my thing for Friday, and I'm going to go ahead and create the task. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that email. So I don't have to look at it anymore. All I have to look at is what's in here. So when I go in here, I have this task. So again, I can put this over in communication, and I can make sure that it gets done. So I love using that because I don't know about you, I hate having an email inbox that's kind of full of all these different things. So this allows me to keep the things I need to do and the information separate. So the things that I need to do are always going to be in Asana. I don't want to treat my inbox as a thing to do, because sometimes in email, there's nothing to do, but you can't delete it because it's important information, right? So I like to have all the things that I need to do in project management. So if we go back into, so that's kind of a little bit of an overview of Asana. Again, I like using Asana because it's free and there's a lot of information. You can put a lot of different things in there. You can have multiple projects. So for instance, if you wanted to have one project for this big trip you're having, or either this big performance, you can have that and then have multiple things within that project. The way that I have mine set up right now, I just have one project for all of the things. But whatever works best for you is what's going to work best for you, right? And that's why I like Asana, is because it can be really flexible. Now, I do want to show you a couple other things that have been really helpful for me when I'm using the Asana. So let me go ahead and go back and show you in Asana, you can also add tags. So let's say, again, this parent sent me an email and they're a little bit grumpy. I can add a tag that I am waiting because I want to hear what my administrator has first. So when has to say first. So when I look at this task, I know, oh, it's waiting. And I can even go in the comments and I could say waiting, admin response. So if I were to sit down on this task, oh, wait, why haven't I sent this yet? Oh, it's waiting because I'm still waiting to hear back from my principal, right? So you can do different tasks like that. You could add, high priority tags. This is a really high priority tag because McGrumperton is a real McGrumperton. Or you could put in here and you could add a different tag. Like maybe this is something that's going to take you 15 minutes or whatever. However it works for you. You could go really complicated or you can make it pretty simple. So that's Asana. Again, I use Asana personally, both when I was in the classroom as well as my team and I use that to keep us sane as we manage all the different projects in my company. But I also know that could be a little bit complicated for some people. Maybe it's a little bit more complicated than you want. You don't really want to learn a new system, which is why I really also have a fond place in my heart for Google Tasks. This is actually what I used before I used Asana because it was there. I already had it. So let's go in and learn a little bit about Google Tasks. So if you didn't know, Google Tasks is part of the Google Suite, right? So if you go over here, right in your calendar, you have this button that's a little check mark. You can also click this little waffle thing, and I think it's in here somewhere. But basically what it is a very simplified project or task management software. So I can go in here and I can rename it. I could add multiple lists. Like for instance, right now, I just have one that's called My Tasks. I could add one that's called lesson planning. I could make another one that's, if you have a very specific performance. For me, I like keeping it all in one place because it is able to, I don't want to have to go through multiple things and forget about them. Also, again, you can go down here, you can see the different things that are I've already responded to, and then you can hide them. So let's see how we can use this. So for instance, I could go in here and I could say lesson planning, first grade. And I could go in, I could say, all right, I need to do my lesson plan every Monday, and I could repeat it every week, and it ends on never. So now, just like I had in Asana, when I complete this lesson plan, it's automatically going to populate, maybe, it's automatically going to populate a new task for me to do when it recomes. So like when we get back to the next Monday, it's going to show you the different task. What I like about this is, one, I don't have to worry about that task until Monday, but if you go in here and you can say, you see that it's going to show me again on Monday the 27th. It's just not showing it to me now because I don't really need to know that information, right? It's going to repeat, but I don't get bogged down by it. Just like with Asana, you can also use it for emails, and honestly, it works a little bit simpler. So if I go in here and I actually just drag this email over here, I could go submit grades, and they're due on Tuesday, so I'm going to have it for me due on Monday, and boom. What I like about this is, one, that was really easy, right? I just dragged it over. But if I go into this task and I'm like, what is it talking about? And if I click on this, it'll actually open the email that created it. Even if this email disappears, if this email is no longer in my inbox, if it's somewhere, in a folder or wherever, if I click on it, it's still going to bring it up. So this could be really good for like a field trip where you have to have specific information. You could put, like billing information or something that you're going to need that information at some point. And by attaching it to that task, you're going to be able to find it a lot easier. Speaking of finding it a lot easier, you can always star it if it's really important. And then again, when you go in here, it'll only show you your starred things here. So again, looking at that, I really like using this. And this is a really important one, right? My teacher license is about to expire. That's important. I need to make sure that doesn't get missed. So I'm going to drag this over. I'm going to star it because it needs to happen. And even though it says, let's say, when is it about to expire? By March 4th, I want to get it done much before that. So I'm going to put February 4th. And I'm going to put, let's say, get CEUs from central office, right? So I have to get that form. And by doing that, it's going to be showing here. And what I love about this is if I go into my calendar and I make sure I have my tasks selected, it's going to show me, it's going to show me what tasks I need to do. So if I move that task to today, it's going to show up here. So if you are someone that really likes having their calendar open on this view, you can keep it up here. And also you can go bloop. Oh, look, I did this. Mark it as completed. Boom, it's done. And by doing that, everything is all together. It functions very similarly to Asana, where it can be on that calendar. But it really allows you to keep keep on top of things, so you're not having to feel like you have to have all the things in your brain at one time. So I know that some of you are probably thinking, why wouldn't I just use like a paper pencil list or a planner or some sort of physical calendar? And the answer to that is, if it worked for you, there's no reason for you to reinvent the wheel. But I know for me, when I was teaching, I was at 2 different schools. I'm also notorious for just losing a calendar. So if I had to keep that calendar with me in order for me to know what's going on, I would have lost it. And I wouldn't have had it. So by doing it digitally for me, that was one less thing that I had to worry about remembering and keeping with me between the both schools. Also, what I like about this is like I said, everything is attached, right? So if I drag that task over, I can find the email that said that I needed to do that. So if something's not clear, I can figure out where the thing wasn't clear, right? If it said your teaching license is about to expire at some point, and I forgot to put it in the, for whatever reason, I forgot to assign the date, I can go in and I can look at that email because it's attached to that Google task. And by doing that, it saves time, it saves your sanity, and it gives you more time to focus on the important things, right? Creating engaging lessons, delivering those engaging lessons, and hopefully leaving as much work as you can at school. When I started implementing these strategies, I went from doing multiple hours of lesson planning outside of my contract hours to being able to do pretty much all the things that I needed to do during my contract hours. Now, this isn't the only change I made. I also learned some strategies to streamline my lesson planning and make that a lot simpler. But for me, especially as someone with ADHD, being able to sit down and go, all right, I have 40 minutes. let's do the thing that it tells me that my computer tells me I need to do, rather than, oh, I have 40 minutes, what do I need to do? That alone took one decision away from me that I didn't have to make because it was already made for me. And that for me was huge. I have thoroughly enjoyed being able to share this with you. I can't talk enough about how much project management and project management software has changed my life in just making sure that I can get all the things done, and also the mental load. When I talk about, I don't have to worry about all the things in my brain, that was really what I was doing for the longest time. If I had something I had to do, I had to keep thinking about it, or it didn't exist for me. I would forget about it. It just wouldn't get done. By putting all the things in one place, all I have to remember is to log into Asana. That's all I have to do. And there are even plugins that will take Asana and put it into your calendar. So it makes it even simpler. There's so many different things that connect together. You can customize it a lot of different ways. You can make it work the way that you need to work. I think that's one of the things that that really frustrates me so much about when people share like these systems and things like that. It's like, do it this way or it won't work. And the reality is it's not going to work if it doesn't work for you. So change things that will make it a little bit more accessible to you. If you are not super into learning a new piece of software like Asana, stick with something like Google Tasks, because that's going to be a lot simpler. If you're looking for a piece of software that has more capabilities, or maybe you want to simplify it a little bit, there are other options out there. Again, there are things like Airtable, which can be really helpful. Trello is one that I hear good things about. And most of these pieces of software have at least a free version with limited features. A lot of them you can do what you would need to do for free without upgrading, because a lot of the upgraded features tend to be a little bit more advanced than what you would really need for a single person. Which brings up another really good point. If you happen to be collaborating on a project, a lot of these softwares also allow you to collaborate. For instance, my team uses Asana for all of our tasks, so we can assign things, we can delegate them, we can go back and forth, we can keep an eye on where we each other are at, and what do we need to get done before we can move on to our task. And by using project management software, it keeps us all on the same page. I want to thank Aileen for hosting this summit. I am a firm believer that there's never going to be enough professional development for elementary music teachers. So whenever we have the opportunity to get content-specific professional development for music teachers, I am 100% on board and making sure that our teachers are set up for success so that we can set our students up for success. If you've never listened to one of my podcasts, this will be new to you, but I end every one of my podcasts with the same thing because I think it's important and I don't think we hear it enough. And with that is, I want to tell you that I appreciate you. I'm so glad that you're here doing something to learn new information. And in case nobody has told you lately, thank you so much for making a difference in the lives of the students that you teach.